Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Hot Takes League of Legends edition. It's a biggie today, the LEC rankings, and we're going deeper than we've ever gone on rankings as well. Team rankings and player rankings on every position. You guys ready?
Yes, we
I
are.
do.
Let's go. Let's go.
Let's just jump in because I feel like we could take absolutely all day doing this,
Yeah.
and I'd rather not take all day. But let's go. So we'll do team first, and then we'll sort the individual players after.
Actually,
And
just one thing before we start,
go on.
because I did the LEC interviews with every LEC coaches. My thought might have changed since then, since the time I made my rankings.
All right. So you're
But
Yeah, so you're
it's fine.
fence sitting before we've even revealed a single one. You're hedging your bets before
Yeah.
we've shown one single ranking. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, let's go then. So let's do for the teams. I think we'll reveal the bottom two first, and they probably won't come as a huge surprise. We've got a slight thing. Oh, actually, I've got one of them not in the bottom two that you guys have. But anyway,
And
generally, Los
you even
Ratones.
wrote it not good, wait.
No,
What
I
do
think it's fine, isn't it?
you wrote KBC, no? On Davide's.
Oh right, yeah. I was doing this
it's
quickly this
fine.
morning first thing in the morning, all right? Yeah. While you were asleep still, I was here sorting all this out, all right? But anyway, KCB
My guy is
KCB
flexing.
last, Los Ratones second last. Obviously Ethan wouldn't put a KC team last for obvious reasons. But yeah, what do you guys think of those two? Because for me, spoiler, I've got Los Ratones 10th. Just because I feel like, and to be fair,
Obviously.
this is probably going to be a slight inconsistency in some of my rankings, but just seeing as it's like early season, like I feel like there should be some teams where they've not made changes, then it should be a little bit of a buff early doors, which I feel like could help Los Ratones to not be like properly right near the bottom. So for that, I've got them 10th, just ahead.
I mean, that's what people would have thought before the EME Masters in summer, right? That Los Ratones was the best, and anyway, they completely destroyed everyone all year, so they will destroy everyone in summer as well, and then they got trioed by KCB, by the way. But
Not the KCB
but no,
that we're
I
getting
think
near, but yeah.
yeah, true. But I still think it's a very good team. I will explain why later. But I do think that Los Ratones is. It might be the year too many, you know, for Los Ratones. Like, I think they might. I don't know. I feel like the dynamic was was not the same in summer. You know, when we were looking at, because obviously Cadwell was streaming all the scrims and stuff. I felt like it was not the same team as it was before. You know, they didn't have that drive, that dynamic that would push them, even when they had bad times in scrims and stuff. It felt really, really rough, both in scrims and in game at the EMEA Masters in summer. And yeah, I don't know why that dynamic would change for LEC, you know. I feel like the players were already like a bit tilted of everyone. The dynamic was just not the same. And so I feel like, yeah, it might be the year too many for them. And even the split too much. So yeah, I still think like obviously the bottom of the ranking are the bottom of the ranking, you know, either you're 12 or 11th, it's the same. So yeah, I don't think it's that relevant, you know, to put someone 11 or 12th anyway. And yeah, I'm French, so I put KCB 11th. As you are British, so you put LR
Well, I
10th,
suppose,
I guess. Yeah.
I suppose. I don't know. I feel like
And Davide doesn't have Davide doesn't have the Italian team to actually put it 11. So.
But I was gonna say like I don't feel. I reckon Los Ratones though probably by summer were like just bored. Like they really won it. The stakes weren't there as much. But that's my guess. And for their first appearance in LEC, I imagine they'll kind of like kick back into gear. Once they're accepted in for LEC summer, then we'll see if the same thing happens that they get dropped off throughout the year.
That's a possibility, but I also see, you know, when I look at KCB and Los Ratones, I kind of see a huge jungle gap, honestly. So that may be why I put
Yeah.
that difference, because also I do believe that jungle is as broken, despite whatever everyone's saying. Jungle is as broken as before, and also top lane is also broken. And I think Baus might hit a wall in LEC, honestly. I hope he doesn't, because I really like his playstyle, and I think it's good to have someone that, you know, um, like just move the lines, you know, in terms of meta and stuff. But in the end, yeah, I do think that it might be not enough to actually be a good top laner in LEC consistently, you know.
Well, and speaking of the lines as well, I don't know if you guys are seeing some of the tweets going around about the people figuring out like the proximity for the role quests of like where you have to be in the lane, and the top lane ones were like a bit funky. And I saw one tweet going around saying like that they reckon like if someone starts proxy farming, then the opponent player is like totally fucked, because they can't. If someone proxy farms behind you, you can't actually like go back in your lane without fucking up your role quest, and then obviously your mid laner can't come to help you either, because they'll fuck up their role quest.
Yeah.
Like that, like pigeon where things are so like pigeonholed.
Yeah, I saw that. Like we can talk about a little bit about the new season later, because I played some games as well. I can also share some of my impressions. I played a little bit of all roles just to fiddle with, but like going back to KCB, for me there were two main reasons. It's kind of consistent to what I put in our previous power rankings when we did them last week. Just the fact that LR is staying together, while KCB had couple of new players coming in. While I do think that over time, KCB can get higher, or like achieve their high potential, because I think there are like a lot of promising players. We got Tao, we got Yukino, we got. I mean, the only one who kind of establish himself was Camilo, but he didn't really have a nice showing. But I guess he
except for when he
was also the only one
as the
who
best
jumped.
mid laner in the LEC spring last
Yeah, like he the thing is, like, he kind of skipped the steps I think he should have done, because he used to play in LFL2, got promoted directly, and then
Yeah.
probably that was also some, like, it's definitely something is there if someone like if teams are willing to go to that point.
And he's still very young, by the way.
Yeah,
He's still very
exactly.
young.
But it's still like new team, new dynamic. I think like I've been also thinking about how I see the teams play out this year based on the new season, based on the stuff that was told to us prior in terms of how roles will like technically work. So I think that I could have honestly put LR 10th potentially, because I think like Nemesis bot lane is very, very solid. I'm not sure if it's like anything higher, but the fact that you have Baus and you have Veya, who are obviously new to the professional scene in that sense, in terms of like tier 1 competitions, I think obviously Veya has shown some stuff, but like Bao's playstyle can be double-edged sword in this meta, like with the role quest thingy, just because of the stuff that we were talking about. Like he can technically proxy, but like he can kind of has leeway to play his own stuff, but his playstyle is also very anti-carry, I think. Or it's like it forces teams to play in a certain way that I think overall will potentially damage the dynamic. And I don't think he's necessarily he has like the carry potential, or like the characteristics to kind of lead the team based on how the meta is right now, because I think it's very like ADC and top focused, based on what I saw. I actually don't agree with Ethan when he said like jungle still has impact, but I think the jungler impact is much lower.
Much lower, you would say? I would say it's like, a bit lower, but it's still
okay. Like much lower in the sense that like I feel like it's more of a, if it's like jungle has gone down slightly, I agree, but it's that ADC top lane has gone so much up that now the differential is much bigger.
I think
So
ADC.
to me,
I think the difference in ADC is kind of irrelevant, honestly.
maybe I'm not sure for pro play. I think for
Might be, yeah.
for normal play has been kind of crazy. Like the stuff I've
Really?
been seeing, like
Okay.
yeah. Like I actually played ADC the most this patch, and like so far, and I don't know. It just feels like I feel like the best lanes that could come out are the ones who like are the teams who are able to obviously have solid laning phase, but it's actually not about like hardcore trading like 2v2 like laning phase. I think the focus will kind of be on you maximize the lane quests as soon as possible, and then you shift over to the whole team trying to play around the one that gets funneled all the like all the resources.
Yeah, but
It could be top.
there's the issue because like I tell you, my impression is that I can be like 10-0 in lane, then show up in team fight. The top laner on the enemy team will be like 5-0. He will have 5 level. He will be 5 levels ahead of me, and then he will show up in team fight and just one shot me, and I will be useless. So
I
that's
think
the issue.
I think that's why that what yeah, I agree with that. Like I definitely agree with that. I think that the difference is that if you, which is why I think like tanks or like stuff with like a lot of crowd controls would matter a lot, would gain a lot of value at the start of this new season, because like you need to find ways to prevent the top laners from actually
Yeah, I agree.
like like just jumping on you. And I still think that like AP junglers have been dominating the meta in solo queue or like normal play. I think that we're going to see a lot more tanks at the start of the new season because you need to have that like crowd controller like front line to help you play like the traditional like front to back, because I think
And
most
don't
of the AD
and
champions are front to back.
don't you think like the junglers will be like the ones tanking that?
Yeah, I think it will be mainly actually junglers, and actually I think more than supports. Actually, I think mid laners will have to have that role, like of playing some stuff that is more control-y, in the sense that you not like tanks, of course, but you want stuff that can help disrupt the enemy team line. So or anything that accelerates it. Basically, one of the two. Uh, if you're on the aggressive end, you want like stuff like Twisted Fate, for example. I think Twisted Fate is so broken if you're able to play it, especially at high level, just because of the acceleration that it has. Because like you get a lot of shit lot of minions um
Yeah.
at the with the start of the new season. His passive didn't change, so this guy is like is basically like an ADC but put in the mid lane, because he just generates the same amount of gold.
Yeah. And with the new boots, all the champions
with the new boots
that
with
can put
yeah,
like
exactly.
rhythm on the map are just crazy right now, like Rise and stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think it will, like the new season will be very weird to me. Like I don't even think we're going to get like the first 2 weeks of pro play a clear idea, because I think like
Yeah,
obviously
sure.
they started
Like
playing
always.
on like they're going to play on TR. They've been playing on TR for quite some bit, so they probably have tested more stuff than us. But it's like
But I can tell you, even the coaches I talked with, they were telling me that
it's
they
going to be
still
a
need to
mess.
wait. Yeah,
Yeah.
that they still need to wait for like Asian region to start playing again, just to know what are their read on the meta.
Mm,
As always, actually, like it's always the case.
yeah.
Every time there's a new season coming.
Yeah, but I think that like compared to like previous seasons, or like to compare it to the last 2 years, I think there like having the fact that there's going to be going back to the teams like much more teams, more best of ones, and the fact that there's going to be like teams that are kind of similar to the same level. I think that like having this much of a difference in the way you can approach to the draft and you can do stuff will actually like shuffle a lot more. Like for example, in a few seasons, I would still expect G2 to be at the top. I still think that is going to be one of the cases. Then we can also go in later to see the rankings. But I think like for example, KCB, LR, and then Shifters who lead put, and like all the teams that we're going to show after might be able to like have mixed results based on what they have been
Yeah,
working
sure.
on, you know.
Yeah.
So like the whole start of a season, for like I think like from half standings down, it will be very very messy and very
Yeah.
very confusing.
Let's see.
I still do think
up to the half.
you put Shifters very low, by the way.
I was just
Actually,
looking
like,
at the roster again. I was thinking maybe it's a bit harsh, but let's
yeah,
reveal the next
I
four.
can see why. Honestly, I can see why, but I think it's a bit too low.
It might be. So overall, then
I
we
mean,
could do the next ones.
you can't
Hold
do
on.
much about it, you know. Like, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, because it's true. It's not even that they look pretty bad. I think it's just other ones that maybe I'm like a little bit more impressed. But as a whole, we've got 10th place Shifters, 9th Heretics, 8th SK, and 7th Navi. But there's a lot of deviation
You
between
see,
those
that's
as well.
a clear example of me doing those rankings before the interviews, because SK10s, nah, they will be much higher. I think they will be much higher. Like I don't. It's simple. There's not a single LEC coach that didn't tell me that SK were the big winner of the off season.
Seriously.
And
What,
honestly,
are they doing good in
with the
scrims or what?
I don't know, but they all told me that. And I guess with the baseline, you know, they should have, like the floor they should have. Honestly, 10s is way too low. What was I thinking?
Well, look which one of us didn't put them in the bottom half. One of us had faith.
Yeah, true.
I don't remember exactly where I put them, but we'll find out. But yeah, I think with a lot of this, I guess yeah, maybe it changes once you get some of the extra insights as well. But just off the rosters, like it was quite tricky, I think,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
to place these. Like it does feel like a bit of a group where it just could I could easily imagine the 4 that I've got being in like any order, or the 5 really go down to shift as well.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, but I believe like SK might, like they might, you know, drop down in form during the year, but I don't think they will start winter in a bad position, honestly. So I don't know what I was thinking. But actually, like I think eight is fair. Like 8 in overall ranking is fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had them 8th. Like I put them 9th, just because I mean I didn't really know about that, like based on what Ethan told me, but I
Yeah.
still think that like SK on a general level is definitely higher than the bottom 3 for me. So it's like Shifters is kind of like in a line between LR and everything above that. I just think that for me, like these are teams that have had new like couple of important changes to their teams. And so it's like they might need some more time to adapt to it. I actually, like I said, I think they all believe in the same tier, so it's like anything, like any game or like anything could happen between those. But I just think that this is probably like I'm expecting even like Team Heretics to be higher than the bottom 2.
Okay,
Which for
well,
me are clearly like the tier 2 teams. I still think that there's a chance like a KCB and LR will take games off of some teams, but I think over the end of by the time we get to the end of the regular like a regular season round robin, because they're playing one best of one against everyone, so it's like a total of 11 games if I'm correct. I think like maybe like KCB and LR would like take 2 games, 3 games. And I think I will be happy with that, you know. Like I actually don't think I need much when people used to ask like, "Oh, will tier 2 teams better than tier 1 teams?" I think sometimes yes. I think over time no. Like over a large sample of games, I think it does not stand, because otherwise they will be in tier 1. Like those players at least.
I can at least tell you that from what I heard, Team Heretics are on a rough spot.
Yeah, I
So
would assume like
I wouldn't say they are that high, honestly. I think if I had to remake my ranking, I would put Team Heretics instead of SK, and maybe Shifters instead of Navi.
Okay. Oh, you put Shifters that highly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe
I
I
mean-
will swap Shifters and SK, but yeah, I think so. I think
I
like
think-
Shifters from what I honestly, it's like again, it's worth like nothing, right? Because it's just screams, and screams are not that relevant anyway. But from what I've heard, I think Shifters are like okay, you know. And I think even though they rebuild something, maybe they might need some times. I think they start with a better floor than the others I was mentioning, like Team Heretics or Navi, for example. No,
That's
based on the
one of
players they have.
That's one of the reasons why I put them 8th. I think like I really kind of like their players, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's just that I'm not really sure how they will show up at the start. With kind of a newly built roster. But I guess it's quite interesting to me. Can I talk about Fnatic since it's there?
Maybe
Because
we
I
do.
think I might get.
Well, I think they were. I think they're next anyway. So let's go
Yeah.
next one. That's where I had my SK.
They're not, but oh, they
Yeah,
okay.
look at that SK right there.
Yeah, my God, I had the vision.
Bro knows stuff.
Hopium.
For me, like Fnatic, it was a kind of weird one. Like I kind of wanted to like, shake some stuff up, shuffle some stuff. I definitely don't think Fnatic is close to the bottom 5. Like I think Fnatic is like closer to the like 7th, but then upwards, while like Shifters can go from I don't know, from like 6th to 10th, or like 6th to 9th, in that sense. Like I think I put Fnatic lower just because of there are like a lot of question marks to me that needs to be resolved. And the first one is obviously like Vladi coming in. Not just the dynamic, but just even him as a player. Like I'm 100% sure that the guy is there. I'm just not sure how he would mesh into the team. The one
I think he will do
upside
well
that
at the start. I think he will do well as the start. I think he needed that fresh air, you know. So I think he will do
no,
well.
he definitely needed the fresh air, but just like I'm not sure how like like Fnatic has figured out the way they want to play the game, you know.
Yeah.
And also think like Empiros, I actually know the guy because like he used to play in Italy for a while. He was one of the better top laners that we had there. Like I also know that Empiros and Vladi played together. I think it was both Greek sometime in the past.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're new to each other. But it's just think the fact that Fnatic changed 3 players out of their 2025 roster, and
With two rookies, yeah.
with rookies, and the fact that I still think that Razork and Upset kind of play 2 different games. Regardless of that, like how that may sound, I still think that that's some of the unresolved stuff that makes me question about Fnatic's power, or like Fnatic's potential overall going to the first plate, or like the LEC versus. I definitely think that they can potentially be top 4 worthy. I just think that based on how Sync stands, I haven't seen enough to rate them any higher. And I still think that there are some of the teams that I rate them higher that I think have shown or like a little bit more interesting to me in that perspective.
Maybe we show the next 2 as well, because again, there's basically below the top 3. There's lots of variation. So
yeah,
the next 2 we've got GX 5th, and then Vitality
one thing.
4th.
Just one thing to come back on that Razork upset, dynamic, because I asked the question to Grabs, and I can read you his answer. It was, I told Fnatic, and I kind of put my neck on the line, that I strongly believe it was a situation of 2 players being vocal and the rest being passengers. So obviously every situation felt like a battle between Upset and Razork because they were the only ones sharing opinions. I told Fnatic that if we have 2 or 3 more players who also bring their ideas in, it won't be Upset against Razork anymore. It will be okay, what's the best play actually? And so far in this team, that's exactly what happened.
I mean, like that was my how do you say? Like, I'm not saying it's necessarily like Razork against Upset. I just think that the way Upset is very comfortable playing on is very different to how Razork is comfortable playing on. And then I think Fnatic can go both ways. It's just that I think they need to find the one that they think they believe they should stick to. Because I think it was quite visible last year that it always felt like Upset was trying to play his own game, Razork was trying to accelerate the game, and that led to very like messy fights or like uncoordinated stuff that then didn't allow. I think that's actually what didn't allow Fnatic to make it to Worlds. Because I think based on how AC was playing at the time, they were actually. Sorry, like when I'm fucking trolling. Like they made it to Worlds because Casey wasn't like playing well. Like they were struggling, but I think that they could have actually played like much closer to MCoy's level had they sorted that thing out. Because I think like Fnatic's on paper potential was higher than what we've seen.
Yeah, I can see that. And actually, Casey had just like more issues than them. I
Yeah,
think.
definitely. Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm not sure about you guys about Navi. I'm actually quite excited about Navi. Maybe
Like,
it's like
okay,
it's
I am very excited about Navi. I just think they need more times. Like I think it's a bit too early to put them that high. You know, yeah, even though I would have like I would be very pleased if they if they go top 5 or something in their first split. I do think that, for example, Parius, I want to see this guy perform. You know, after last year that was really very rough for him. I think I really want him to perform, especially because when he entered GLEC, it was the player I had the most expectations in. Like even I would say even like before Skumond or Kalist, honestly. I had a lot of expectations of him, and it was so disappointing that I do believe that he will bounce back. You know, because honestly, I think in you in general we lack good supports. So yeah, if my guy is coming on the right mindset, on the right circumstances and stuff, I really do think that he can be very high, and that he can help Navi reach very high heights as well. Because like Relech is a super talented player. If he grows as he should grow, he should be one of the best in a few. Um, and yeah, all the roster is talented, right? Mainter has an insane work ethic. He's a very like one of the best teammates you could ask for. Samji is very talented as well. He was the best in URLs for years, right? And yeah, and Poby is just a good foundation. I think he's a good foundation to build on. You know, he's a good laner. He will always have the push when you need him to. And as Relay can, as a jungler that wants to play very aggressive, you want a mid laner like that. And yeah, he will put rhythm on in early game and stuff. I think probably the main area where he need to work is like his clutch factor and maybe his team fight, be like more active in team fight, have more presence, you know. But outside of that, I do believe that Poby is a very solid player. And so yeah, I think this team has a lot of potential. I just think it might be a bit too early because all 5 players are new to each other, you know. So yeah, putting them above 5, I think is a bit of a cop, honestly.
What do you guys think
which
of
is
Giant
why I
X?
put them 6. Actually, Jing's Giant X is going to be my dark horse again.
Yeah, because that's one that
Like
that's probably one of the teams with the biggest variation.
I think ours is Vitality Lee or Dark Horse.
I think so.
I mean, I think both of them are dark horse. I think for me, Giantess is going to be the dark horse at the start of the season, just because purely from the fact that they have stick with the roster, and I still think that I'm not like the fact that they were technically Scream Kings. People say the Screams don't matter. I mean, I still think that Screams that matter because if based on how you play and based on how you perform on Screams is then most of the time what transitions into official. like over like a larger sample of games, it should technically transition to officials. I just think that like Giant X seemingly has given me like enough confidence to say over the past splits that they're working towards a good direction. I don't think they are necessarily like idle contender ready, but I still think that based on LEC versus and how teams are being built, they should technically be on the top half at least. So I'm expecting them to be anywhere from 4th to 6th. I actually think that anything lower than that would kind of be a disappointing result to me.
Yeah, I agree.
For Vitality, similar discussion. I think actually more over time I would probably switch them back. So if we have to go, then in terms of like ceiling, I still am 100% sure that I would probably put Vitality higher. But I think I kind of want to see more because they obviously had Humanoid coming in. I don't think the player is bad. I just think that I was very disappointed by some of his play last year. So I want to see more before like making the decision and like judging, rating him and the rest of the team higher.
I feel like with Giant X, like this is where I'm probably gonna be a bit hypocritical with others that I feel like will be better because they're a roster that's stuck together. But the thing with Giant X is like, remember this time last year was when there was like probably the most hype about Giant X, like when scrims had started and I was saying they were looking really good, and then I just felt like I think over the year they like improved a little bit, but I just feel like there wasn't enough to show that. There wasn't enough by the end of the season to think like, right, if this guys stick together, they're really going to be, you know, a force next year or something. So for me, there just wasn't like it didn't seem like it was heading in a good enough direction. Maybe 7th is a bit harsh that I've got them. Like maybe I could swap them with Fnatic.
You had to sacrifice them for SK sticks.
Exactly. That's
And
why
honestly,
maybe
that could
Fnatic
happen.
could be the one
Honestly,
to
it could happen.
cut, but
I mean, based on how Ethan said things, I think we should all be happy about SK. So
Yeah.
yeah, and with Vitality,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it is like Copium, just hoping that you know, Humanoid back with his old pal Kazi in a with a coach that's been part of the staff that's got the best out of him before. That fingers crossed it would get back to the old Humanoid, and then Vitality's long-term project will finally actually come to fruition. But then I've been in a similar position before where I've thought Vitality were going to finally get it together and then don't do that. So I think I was kind of surprised to see you
long
guys
term
have
for
Vitality that high.
Vitality has been like 5 years already.
Yeah, but,
I feel like
but
I've heard this story so many times.
usually they have a super team, you know. You're expecting a lot of them. Right now, I feel like everyone is expecting a lot of them, but I don't feel like we should, you know what I mean? Like given the players they have, honestly, like they just changed Humanoid, right? But they still have like Fleshy, which is like kind of new to the league. They have like Naknako Linsas, which are kind of young, right? But yeah, I don't. I feel like I'm very hyped about this team, and I think they can do a lot this year. Honestly, I think like it's the year or never for this roster, right? Otherwise, they will have to change things for 2027 if it doesn't work out. But yeah, I just feel like it's not a super team, you know. It's not like KCB, G2 or MKOI when you look at the names. But yet I expect a lot of them, and I feel and I really have the impression they can do a lot, you know. But at least they are not the super team they used to be, and that I think that might help them, you know, in that mental block, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, to be fair, like from a community aspect, I feel like this is like the lowest anyone's ever been on Vitality. So
Yeah.
for us, that's the time you buy the stocks. You know, you buy low, so we're getting in early. But yeah, for like it's a good point. Like from them, there'll be players that, especially like Humanoid and Kazi, like will clearly feel like they should be winning titles, and it's probably slightly easier to do that when no one does expect it from you.
Yeah, their prime is behind them, you know. So yeah.
Let's do the top 3, which we've all clearly got the same teams, but there is a slight variation. obviously because one of them is KC, so some person's going to have them higher than the rest. Which is, so we've got KC in third. Of course, Ethan hasn't. He's got them in second, where we've got Koi, and then that leaves G2 first place. It was a little bit tough, the second and third for me, in fairness.
Yeah.
But then I'm going
Same.
back to my old reasoning of the team sticking together should be better early doors. So I'm going back to that
Same.
for Koi.
Okay, guys, I'll read you a quote, and you need to tell me from who it is. Okay? Wait.
Let's see.
It's a test if we read all your interviews.
No, it isn't actually. It's just just to get the temperature. Okay. I don't care too much about winter because it's not the real LEC anyway.
Who said that?
Who could have said that?
I'm gonna guess someone from Koi, maybe. That's gonna be why they're in third place.
Bingo! It's Melzet, their head coach, who said that.
Okay.
So, and given like their result in last year winter as well, like I don't know if you remember, but they were like fourth and they got, I think, really blown away by Fnatic at that time. And yeah, I just think like MKOI, they are not the team that you would expect will start the year on the better pace, let's say. While I think KC, with the fact that they have a lot to prove, with the fact that there are a lot of new players, that new dynamic that gets, with just a fresh dynamic, I just think this roster might just look as the same as the last winter, Like honestly, I would have put them first if I knew you wouldn't call me biased for doing so.
Why would you put?
I mean,
what would be the reason to put them ahead of G2 though?
Yeah.
I just tell you, like I think they might start on a new dynamic that might push them more than G2, who is starting again with the same roster and stuff. Like I don't buy that much on that narrative of we keep the same player, so we're starting from a better floor. I think like every year since the meta changes, I think every
true.
team has to adapt, and it's a lot out of that more than having the same player, so they already have automatisms and stuff. Honestly, I think you need to anyway. You will have to rebuild those automatisms because of the fact that the meta is changing, right? And I think that KC, given the name they have, the player they have, like last year it worked out very well for them. Obviously, we all know that in winter. And I do believe now, given the fact they have a new dynamic and stuff, I do believe that on paper they are like they should be at least top 2, from winter. On paper, given the names and stuff, yeah, I do see them first, even honestly. And I think G2, as we saw last year, they didn't start the winter in the best way as well, Honestly, like the team has changed since then. I think for sure players like Labrov and Skumon gained a lot of confidence since then. But still, I do think that whenever you change the dynamic, like it can go both ways, right? You can like start a new dynamic and it just doesn't click, it doesn't work, and you guys are not at the expectation you will put on you. And then you can have the same roster and just be the complete opposite, like you just feel like you need to relearn the game again, and that things are not clicking as they were in summer, for example. Because I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I think G2 completely like dominated summer, right? But it was only summer. In winter and spring, they had a lot of ups and downs. They were not that good in every moment. So I feel like always when they were good, it was like in the upper bracket, in playoff, like the first run of playoff before the final, But when it came to regular season and stuff, I felt like G2 was always like ups and down, always, So yeah, I think KC should be my first for this first split. And also one thing I wanted to point out is that, guys, when you look at the paper, they have at least 3 players, and I think we will see that in the rankings, but I think they have at least 3 players that we all put in first place. So already for me, that's a big, a big reason, Just on paper, they have the majority of the best players, at least.
I agree with that. Like, I think I did at least put them in 2, if I'm correct. For me, like you said, like Leaf said, basically, I always I'm trying to stay consistent with my criterias in the sense of teams having stuck together. I actually think that among the 3, the one with the highest potential is KC. Is that we haven't seen much from it to make me say that I can rate them any higher.
Obviously.
I actually think that among the 3, the one with potentially the lowest potential over a long period of time is MKOI. I think MKOI is very my biggest issue with MKOI and just like the entire MKOI lineup is how volatile their performance can go. They can go from having periods where they look like the best team in the LEC to times where they don't look like themselves. And I feel like sometimes it's due to how they have been playing for the entire season last year. Because it's like it was very, not like one dimensional, but just it was very through specific ways to gain leads. So it would always be like Alvaro and Eliolia doing stuff on the map that leads to Jojo Pion or Mirwin plus Supa getting enabled. I kind of want to see an evolution of that because I think MKOI has the players to be able to play in different ways. That doesn't always have to include going through jungle and support. And I actually think they might get hurt a little bit by the new meta thing because I don't think Supa's and Alvaro's laning phases are strong. I'm not sure how KC1 will be because obviously,
Yeah, I agree.
like Pargamas and Kalista didn't really have a strong laning phase as well.
Yeah.
But I think that with Busio coming in, we should see a new dynamic that could potentially change that. And I also think
honestly, I would say that even MKOI was even worse because of the fact that they were a lot dependent of the lane swaps. I feel like their bot lane
exactly.
was a lot dependent on lane swaps.
Which is,
when it came to laning phase, they were always doing mistakes, like always.
Yeah, I think also the fact that the G2 for me is like kind of in a weird spot right now because I don't think they've peaked, but I don't think they're much away from their peak. Which
I get what you mean, yeah.
Which in comparison to what was in 2024 was like when Yike was there with Mickey X, I felt like after the first season they still had a lot more to show. Unfortunately, they got eliminated at Worlds, but we saw that they were actually able to pull off wins like they were able to like play on a similar level to like Hanwha Life when they lost the Swiss stage match.
Even BLG, I would say.
And even BLG. My worry is that G2 roster doesn't have the same potential as the previous one. And even though the players have already reached a high enough performance or like high level enough level, I'm not really sure whether we have G2 fighting internationally or to the level that I expect them to be as the top European representative. Like,
would you say it's only because of Skumon and like Yike in comparison to Skumon and Labrov in comparison to Mikix?
There's like so much stuff that like it's kind of bad to say because we're talking about the best team in the LEC and we're like talking about them like as if they're like a shit team. But to me, it's just like it just feels like aside from Skumon and Labrov, and actually I think more Labrov, based on how I view the games, I think he might have some issues. In terms of how, like, last year, I feel like every time G2 struggled a little bit, Labrov was one of the reasons. Sometimes mechanical misplays, sometimes the way he was positioned on the map, his rotations, he was always kind of slower. I think Skewmon does his job as a jungler, like mechanical and fundamental stuff, very well. I think he needed time to fix and learn some of the stuff that he then got fixed. Like the way he should play around the team, how much to balance between farming himself and then playing for the team, based on what team composition or what his role can be in the game. I think he did that more. He improved that better, more visibly. It was like visibly more clear.
Yeah.
But my issue is actually, like you said, it's actually on the other players. Like not necessarily like the issue, but it's just like I feel like these guys have already peaked in the past. I'm not sure if I can see them hit that peak again. Mainly for me, last year were Hansama and BB. I actually think that Hansama did fine last year. I think Hansama was one of the what happened to BB last year was what happened to Hansama in the previous iteration, where they just kind of like, while everyone was speaking, they kind of dipped in specific moments of the season, and that caused an imbalance on how the team performed, because they were very like, you need five elements, like you need all 5 players to be extremely good and extremely in the best form possible to be able to go against an Eastern team and have a chance at winning. Even not like just straight up winning. It's like having a chance. So the moment one of them goes down, like doesn't show up, the entire team falters. I think even Caps to certain moments of the season had that, or like he didn't have the clutch factor where he makes up like his carry potential, like whatever his gameplay, like carry the entire team. I felt like that was less.
I feel like Caps always had that, you know. He always had that at moments during the season. There's always a moment in the season where where his form will drop, you know.
Yeah, but
in
I'm
the
trying
end,
to
it's
say
always
like,
Caps. So I think it's different. It's different for him than for Hans and BB, because I would really agree with what you said about Hans and BB. That Hans might have been like in the previous years what BB has been this year.
Yeah, I think like for Cap is like I think he's obviously like very high. Like I rate him super high. It's just for me, back in the day on the golden G2 era, if we talk about that, he always felt like this guy would come up with like some crazy plays or like crazy stuff where he just takes over the games. I don't think I've seen that Caps anymore recently. Like I've only seen some instances of it.
Okay.
And obviously you can't blame him for not doing that, you know. I think he does his job egregiously well. Actually, I think like he does his job insanely well. It's just that
in 2024 we saw a lot of that from Caps.
yeah,
and I will tell you why. I think it's about side laning also a lot. I think the fact that side laning got nerfed in 2025 nerfed Caps indirectly, you know. And I think that the fact that side laning is coming back again this year, Caps will have a lot of fun playing like Azir, Gionage, and this kind of stuff, and just like storm the side lane. I think he will have a lot of stuff playing on G edge.
yeah,
I think he's very good at that. So yeah, I think you might see the Caps that you would hope for this year.
yeah, like regardless of that, I still think that if we actually want to have a super team or like a strong team that goes out internationally, we need to have all 5 players showing up at the same time. And I always feel like G2 in these past 2-3 years have always struggled at different points. I actually think that like to a certain level, 2024 to me was still the best G2 roster we have had. Personally speaking, in terms of like how I saw them play, even though the results didn't really come together.
If you listen to them, I think 2023 was their best year. Like, I think that at worst 2023 they were like completely stomping screams against the best teams in the world, from what they said.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, going back to KC and MKOI, I'm actually worried a little bit about MKOI. If there's something I have questions, like I said before, but I think that they have a really united, like
5 players
way of being like playing together.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
you've talked to Melzet, I've talked to Melzet. I really like his philosophy and his approach. Just the way he tries to foster players not just as a team to make results, but just like to develop themselves into a stronger unit. On paper, KC has the better individuals across multiple roles. The only one where I would have potentially a discussion about this would probably be
yeah.
jungle.
Oh, really? Okay.
Jungle, I actually think. Just because I think I rate Eloya super highly, but I also rate Hayek super highly. Um, and the other things I think like MCO has always made that up with by having like certain synergies here and there among the roles that worked out better compared to KC last year. So I think that is what is staying from MCO's previous seasons, which is why then I put them second. I think it's easier for them to like find out stuff faster because they already know each other. They've been playing with each other for quite some time.
There we go.
Yeah, I
That
agree.
ranking.
I think when it comes to raw talents, I think KC might be ahead. And also like it's very simple, but what you said is very interesting because even Zeph, which is the assistant coach of KC this year, told me that talent alone doesn't win you title, right? So
Yeah.
for sure, what Melzet has created with Zemco is very unique. But I think that if KC achieve that by the end of the season, they will be a better team than MCOI. No, but it's not that easy to achieve.
I think it wouldn't be a huge surprise if any of the three were to win, especially
Yeah,
first tournament.
exactly. Like what will be a huge surprise is that another team from out
Yeah.
of these three like reach the top, like first end. Honestly,
Let's do some player rankings. I feel like we might start getting tight for time, so we maybe just start with the bigger roles and then leave the lesser roles later. So I feel like we just start with mid lane and get the best ones out of the way. And we'll do bigger chunks as well. So maybe we'll do 6 to 12, and then we'll do 7 to 12, and then we do the top 6. So let's see. 12th, Kamalu. 11th, Sterin. 10th, Leader. 9th, Nemesis. 8th, Nuke. And 7th, Jackies. But there are still some like we're not totally in agreement of who the bottom 6 are. Not by a long shot. Davide's got Humanoid in his bottom 6. Which is pretty bold, I think. We'll see. We'll see where he ends up. I feel like there's other ones. I'm sure there's one in the bottom 6 that I've not got.
wait,
as
you've
well.
put Nemesis top 5? Top 5?
I put him 6. You'll see after.
Wow.
I
Okay.
actually had the bold courage of trying to of wanting to do that just because I really like Nemesis as a player. I think
Just wait to see how tilted he will be after his jungle and top laner will be 3 level down at 5 minutes.
I mean, okay, yes, like putting aside the tilt, I think that Nemesis for me is actually a player that I would have wanted to see in the LEC for like a long time,
Yeah, sure.
ever since he stopped playing. And I still think he's like not insanely good. I think like compared to like when he was playing for Fnatic, but I still think that he's there and there. And judging by how LR played and judging by how Humanoid played last year, I think that just like Humanoid as a player has lost a lot of the points for me last year, which is why I put him 7th and I put Nemesis 6th. But I think like anything from Jackie's and potentially, I mean Nuke, I'm kind of in between because I think I used to rate Nuke highly last year, but then
Same.
he kind of dipped. But I think like
I think he had a very good start of the year, like at least from winter to spring. But I think in summer he dropped a lot.
he dipped a lot, like in the second half, I think.
Yeah.
And obviously recency bias. But I think like Jackie's humanoid nemesis, and potentially even I'm looking at mines like fifth and fourth, no, I mean probably fifth, are like tradable to me. Um, like tradable in the way that based on how they show up, they can easily be one on top of each other. Uh, I actually wanted to point out leader because I think leader has always kind of, we've already talked about this, talking about SK a couple of times, but you just, he's as a player, I'm not really a fan of. I'm not sure why. Like, I'm basing myself on what I used to see from him, but just think that his value comes from how his team is able to play around his strengths. It's just that I don't think he's a complete package. Or like I rate I think we've talked about this in the past, like when we see like different characteristics of a player, there's like the even like the Chovy thingy when there's like he gaps everyone, he's
Yeah.
like has like the big
Yeah, the graph, the stat graph. Yeah.
hexagon thingy. If we take like a couple of qualities in there, I think like leader has like spikes in like one or two, but then he's like on the lower end the other ones. So that when that evens out, to me, he is not rated as highly. But
Yeah.
if you're really able to play around those strengths, those spikes, you could potentially be like, you know, much way higher than this.
And the big
Uh,
thing with leader as well is this champion pool, right? I
yeah,
don't know how it will look like
yeah,
in GLEC, but this guy is known for playing melee champs, especially. And yeah, I do believe that when it comes to competitive environments, you need to be ready to actually adapt to what your team needs. And I'm not sure
exactly.
leader will be that guy. Maybe I'm wrong. And actually, if you look at my SK interview with owner, he's saying I'm wrong. Thinking that because he said that they won't have any issue with fearless draft. And quite the opposite. They said like they could flex some players in all 5 positions which kind of caught me off guard. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, I do think that the issue for Nemesis is kind of the same, but the other way around, because I do believe that Nemesis obviously is very good at match controls, but there are some that he doesn't play that often. For example, I remember this year seeing him, learn again how to play Azir, learn how to play Yone and this stuff. So I don't know in what form he will show up, Nemesis, but if he took his time during the off season, during their bootcamp and stuff, to actually learn the champions that he might lack in his champion pool, maybe he will be very good. Yeah, but if he still has, that like those um, champion pool lacking, if there's still that criteria, right? I do believe that he might be. He will never be a burden for LR for sure, because I do think there are two players that might be for like way higher than him in the burden case. But I do believe that it might get tricky if he doesn't have that deep of a champion pool to actually adapt to any situation, because some team will come prepared to whatever Baus is preparing, to whatever the team is preparing in general. And yeah, I do believe that Nemesis can be. I think he can be on both chairs. There's the chair of like leader, Camilo, Serin, and Nemesis. Because I do believe that Serin should not be outlook. Like I think this guy can be very very good. And actually talking with Chimeretics coach, I do believe that I was not hyped at all about Chimeretics, but I was at least hyped about their solo laners, which I already was, honestly, especially Serin. Like I saw this guy this year. I think he is one of the best laner. He was the best laner in ERL, so I do believe that he will be like in the higher tier when it comes to laning phase in GLEC um, from the get go, and especially given the fact that we actually have like side lane has more importance. I do think that Serin in that way, because he will be more isolated, he will have to play more on his own. I do believe that it's a buff for him, so I'm kind of hyped to see that. But yeah, then honestly, I think Nemesis, Jackie's nuke, and maybe even Serin and then like obviously Humanoid. I think all those players might be in the same tier. And actually, I don't know enough about Yahoo to rate him that high, but even Yahoo on the paper might be on this tier, you know. So yeah.
Put him third place.
Hmm?
Did you put him third place? Anyway, the last
Yeah,
point.
because
Okay, well, let's show him in a second. But just before we show the rest, I'd say the last point on Nemesis is that no matter what happens in the game, he's already left his mark on this season with his tweet
Yeah.
about tongue kissing in missionary style. And that was
yeah, so
just the most bizarre thing I think I've ever seen on the timeline. Anyway, so let's
he was
reveal.
drunk. I guess he was just drunk.
I guess so. Right, 6th place, Humanoid. 5th, Hobie. 4th, Yahoo. 3rd, Vladdy. 2nd, Jojo. And 1st place, Caps.
Okay,
Yeah,
so let me say about Yahoo being that high. I believe that a Korean import coming out from GRX, well, I saw because obviously since he was announced to KC, a lot of people have been making tweets, have been making like analysis of his game and stuff. So I've watched some of them, and I also watched some VODs from my own because there was also some people from the KC community that were like uploading like 10 hours of gameplay of Yahoo in GLCK. And I watched some of it, and honestly, I think this guy will hold his own against anyone in GLC. I think he was already holding his own against the best player in LCK, honestly. In lane, he's never behind. I think I've never saw him behind in lane, which is kind of crazy when you think of the name that are in LCK, right? Even though he was on the second group of GLCK, he wasn't playing against like the Chovy Faker and stuff. But for example, even when he was in NCKCL, it was better than the Zini, all the players that we heard about in lane. He was always better. Like he was kind of Poby in that sense, that he was always like very very consistent in lane. And then I feel like the main question mark for him will be how we will adapt to the later stages of the game in a new language, with the fact that you now have to learn English, that, as we said, it's not only about like team fight. There's a lot of new thoughts that have been added to the game that you need to take in consideration, like how to silent and stuff. But again, I don't know how they will handle that part in KC, but when you look at it, if you have to coordinate on side lane with Kana, for example, you can just tell him in Korean in 2 words, like go bot or and I go top. If you want to make it simple or to just be quicker on the process, like in game. And yeah, I still believe that overall he's a very talented player. He's also very young and he has a lot to prove. He can be very very good, but it will just comes to how he adapts to the new environment, because we saw a lot of promising Koreans coming to GLC, and they didn't like. It's not everyone that performed as we expected. Honestly, outside of Kana, I don't remember that many Koreans that performed that well. In LC.
I think I put Poby third. Now that I think of it, probably was a little bit too much of a stretch. I think I'm very positive on Poby just because I like the way he plays.
Yeah,
I think he's not that. You're not expecting him to stomp people, but he'll always make sure he comes out on even or slightly ahead. And I think the fact that he played in the LEC for one split already will give him a little bit of an extra edge. Yahoo technically on paper has higher potential. I mean, the guy played in the LCK, like you said, faced the kings of the mid lane. So it's not like I don't think he underperformed or like he shut the bed. But I don't think he was that outstanding either to me. And I put Vladi fifth just because of recency bias, even though I still think that Vladi is potentially also like I still think like anyone. I think everyone inside, including Jojo Pion below caps, from Jojo to Vladi, so from second to fifth, can technically be switched one with each other. Obviously, caps for me is number one, uncontested. For multiple reasons that we covered before. But I think it's going to be very interesting. I think this is probably one of the times I'm actually really excited to see mid lane matchups. Because I feel like mid lane has been kind of a little bit underwhelming over the past few years. And then we get quite some good mid laners. Like, even Jackie's, up until Jackie's and Humanoid and Nemesis, for me, like, can be, laning-wise at least, very interesting to see.
And honestly, what I think is very good also is that we have very good laners. When you look at that top 5, for example, there's only Vladi, who, you know, where there is like kind of a question mark in terms of laning phase. But outside of that, all the other players, even Poby, are very, very dominant in lane. You know, they are like very reliant. And even that top 2, when you look at it, Caps and Jojo, I think their main strengths, from what I saw of their career and stuff, it has always been side lane, you know, playing on their own, being mindful of where the jungle can be, where your jungle is, where your team is, and just like playing on the edge with that in mind. I think those two players, Caps and Jojo, are the best at it, like by far, even maybe in the West, honestly. So yeah, I'm very, very hyped to see them evolve on that new meta with, you know, they can be more of playmakers, you know, because they can do those silent plays, but also because of the boots that give you more edge to actually make a good roam and stuff and have more tempo. And yeah, I agree with what you said about Poby, honestly. I think like Poby has a shot to be in that top 4, you know. I think it will depends a lot on how KC and Fnatic play from the start, because honestly, mid laners are also very dependent of their team, I think, and how the dynamics evolve inside their team. So, for example, when you said Kiao was not that outstanding, I mean, Jerex was not outstanding as well, right? So, and it's kind of the same if, for example, Navi is not performing that well, Poby will not look outstanding that much, you know? So yeah, I think Poby and Vladi have a shot to, you know, enter that top 3, that top 4. And I think it will depend a lot on the team dynamics and how the team will evolve in this split. I think Vladi has a better ceiling than maybe all the players outside of Caps in this top 5.
I think with a bunch of my votes, I'm sort of like I find it difficult to, even like when someone's dipped a bit, I kind of always have the hope that they'll be like the way that I remember them. So that's pretty much why I've got Vladi, Humanoid, third, fourth as well. It takes a lot for me to lose faith in what was.
No, but I have faith in Humanoid as well, honestly, and especially for the first split. I think he will have the, you know, he will have the drive to actually,
if he's not gonna have like
shut some mouths.
If he's not gonna have the fire for it now, then he probably never would again, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, we're a bit pressed for time, so for the rest of them, I'm just going to reveal them all in one hit, and we can just pick out our highlights.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's go top lane. 12th, Baus. 11th.
We don't see it. Honestly.
Oh yeah. Good point.
We change the asset.
Okay. 12th, Baus. 11th, Tau. 10th, Empiros. 9th, Tracin. 8th, Wonder. 7th, Mainta. 6th, Lot. 5th, Rooster. 4th, Naknako. 3rd, Mirwin. 2nd, Broken Blade. And that leaves Canna, number 1. And this was a pretty well agreed for at least the top 6. The top 6 were full agreement across the board. Quite nice.
Yeah.
Bit of change under that. I thought going 8th Wonder was what I said previously. I'm always kind of expecting to get back to the glory days. Davide actually had him higher in 7th. Fair enough.
And I had him way lower.
10th.
I mean, for me, Wunder is like, I just think the experience will play out a lot. I must be honest. I've heard a lot from Mainter, but I haven't seen him play much, so I'm not really sure what kind of player. I definitely know was one of the hottest prospects. I just think that for me, Wonder like having just the experience of playing at a high level for quite some time, and I didn't even think people say that Team Heretics, like when he played on Heretics, he looked bad. I don't even think he was one of the worst ones on that roster.
Really?
No, I don't think he was that like as underwhelming as some other player who was playing the mid lane. I'm sorry,
Not
but
Voldemort. You could say his name.
I mean, shout out Perks. It's just kind of sad because I always loved G2's 2020-19 lineup, and seeing him dip was very, very sad, like disappointing to see. But I guess it just happens, you know. And I think that Wonder has, for me, all the correct characteristics, individually speaking, to be there. For me, the other one I actually wanted to shout out to is Rooster, because I don't think we have seen much from him.
Yep.
Or like he was on a very not like shit roster, but just like not that good roster. But
You
I think
mean cheaters roster?
yeah. Oh shit. I think he can definitely have like a step up this season. And I actually really need to see that because like that's the whole point of you wanting to import Koreans. Aside from that, I think it's very like I'm actually not surprised that we have got like our top 6 on the same spot, because I think it just goes to show how important top lane has become, and just like the way our LEC, like the way the league has already like phased out the top 3 and 4 players. Like we all agree that Kana, BB, Mirwin, and Aknako I think are technically a little bit higher than the rest.
I'm not sure, honestly. I would maybe say
I
that
mean, you would say
from Mirwin to Lots. No, even you know what? Even from BB to Lots, I would say there's a like anyone can take the place of the other in like in game, you know. Like if it comes down to one game, I think anyone can be better than the other
yeah,
from
definitely.
the top 2 to 6.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, consistency wise, I've seen like BB Mirwin Nako a little bit higher than Ross,
Okay,
Rooster,
I
and
get what you mean.
Lot. I definitely agree with that. The fact that you could say that Canada is undisputed best, and then you have the other ones kind of like
Yeah.
scrapping with one another. But
Yeah.
just like I think even like to over the course of the season, unless someone has a major dip, I would assume that BB still stays better than Mirwin. Although I'm actually very excited because I saw Alfari got brought in as assistant coach, so that might put that like help out. I know like I still rate Alfari in terms of laning phase as incredibly strong.
Yeah.
That has
he was the
always
best.
been
I think he
his
was the best
like that was
this
also always his forte, like the reasons why you would want to have him. And I think based on what we said about the new season and giving me like landing phase more importance, I think that he can be an underrated pickup that MKOI might benefit from in the second, like in the first half.
Agree.
Let's do jungle.
Shall we do the rest?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, jungle.
Mhm.
12th place. Failure. 11th, Carter. 10th, Deans. 9th, Relec. 8th, Isma. 7th, Yukino. 6th, Linsus. 5th, Sheo. 4th, Razork. 3rd, Yike. 2nd, Elyoya. Number 1, Stumont. What's
I think
jumping
it's
out?
all,
Actually,
I think it's the most stacked role, honestly. When I look at the names, like the fact that, for example, Bukada is 10th, is 11th. Well, I
Yeah.
think is a fair player, you know. Yeah, I think it shows that it's the EU's most stacked role for sure. Like, yeah, the fact we have now Yukino Relay coming in, it's like the role just took just went up, you know,
Yeah.
in
I'm
the
actually
season.
surprised as to you guys putting Shio over Razork.
I think it's only recency bias, only because I think like Razork is coming out of a very very bad year in general, not even
Okay,
the bad
right.
splits. I think he had a very very rough year. Where honestly, I don't know if it was all his fault because I feel like he was only playing for bot, like it was Fnatic's only like kind of solution in game, you know. And he was only playing for bot, diving bots, which is like fair. Okay, you're doing that, but then after what do you do? And I felt like Razork afterwards had like was kind of lost on the map. He didn't know what to do. And I think when we talked about like that dysfunctional approach to the game that Razork had with Upset, I think that it comes down a lot to this, that Upset want to take it slow, get his resources, play on his power spikes, while Razork want to put more rhythm on the map when he has the advantage, you know. And yeah, I feel like he was lost in this team last year. I hope for him that it will change, because I do believe that at his peak, he can be the best jungler in the league, like for sure. He can take over Yike, Elioya, and Skumond. Honestly, he already did. Um, but I do believe that the issue is he wasn't at his peak last year, and I'm not sure with this new roster, even though there's a new dynamic and stuff, I'm not sure it will completely change this approach. So yeah, I would put him lower. But actually, talking to Team Heretics coach, I felt like I didn't view Sheo as he did, honestly. Like it felt like he was kind of skeptical about Sheo, honestly, which is kind of weird because it's his jungler, right? And to me, it was like I don't know about you guys, but to me, like last year, it was very very good, and it was like the main reason why Team Heretics went had some good moments. Uh, like 100% the most consistent player on this team. But yeah,
I think
I don't feel like the head coach has the same view as me on Sheo right now.
I think for me the biggest like comparison I can have for Shio is just like he has been very consistent all around. It's just that he never had like those super 1v9 moments that I've seen Elioya, Yikes, Kuma, and Razork have over the past years. And I've always rated, since the BDS days, Shio as the player who just like kind of like a peanut in that sense. You give him something, he does that. Like he does his job, and that's it. Like if Razork goes up and down a lot, Shio is kind of like a little bit more in like with lower peaks, but like he's more consistent over the line. So like in a team where you have like a lot of peaking players, he shows well because he will give you the floor. But when you need him to step up, I doubt he has what the other guys have that are close to him. Which is why I actually rate him lower. I rated him 6. I actually think Linkas for me is a little bit better in that regard. Even though they're technically to me in a similar tier. And yeah, and then Yukin and Village, I'm really hyped. I actually, like you said, I actually think ADC and jungle are the most stacked ones to me.
Yeah. But I would say like the top 6 of jungle is more stacked than the top 6 of ADC to me. And even, you know what, I can extend it to
okay,
top 8.
that's okay, fair. I mean, to me they're very similar.
Okay. But I think you can even extend it to top 8 given like the 2 new rookies we have coming in.
Yeah.
Yukino and Ridek. Yeah.
Let's do
Shall we
ADC.
wait and see?
But actually like we're all like 100 I'm kind of surprised we all agreed that Skomond was top 1, you know? Because to me he peaked in summer, but before that he had a lot of inconsistencies as well.
But I think that's
Like even at internationals, like both MSI, EWC, Worlds, I think he was the least performing player in G2. Honestly,
I think those are like kind of fair things in the rookie year as well. Like to see him start a bit slower and then by summer end up looking like clearly like the best jungler. I think that's fine that it needed that ramp up time or needed that like progression, and I would expect him to like just keep going at that level now. That's kind of where I'm thinking of it from.
Same. I also think that Skumon has more potential to be shown.
yeah, I agree.
Like I feel like Yike and Eliolia are like, especially Eliolia between the two, has kind of found his level. Like he doesn't like he's very consistent, but he doesn't move away much. I think Skumon kind of had a much lower floor, but then spiked, and now we have to see what. Oh my god! And now we have to see whether that spike stays. I'm not sure how I'm going to fix this, but we can move to the ADC while I'll try to fix it. Yeah, I don't know what was
Let's
it.
me and Ethan do this, so it's even.
Okay, nice.
All right, never mind.
Yeah, I agree, and I think as well that Yike might we might not have seen Yike's peak.
Peak, yeah, same. I also agree on that.
Let's see ADC. So we have
Move it.
number 12, Hazel. 11, Yoppa. 10, Crowny. 9, Paddock. 8, Ice. 7, Sandy. 6, Kazi. 5th, Noah. 4th, Super. 3rd, Upset. 2nd, Kalist. And that leaves number 1 and Summer.
Yeah.
Actually, okay.
Yeah, my hoping is there on Kazi for the vitality angle as well, which is probably one of the bigger variants. I'm kind of surprised you guys had, or who is it, Davide, super ahead of Upset. That was quite a surprise for me.
Yeah.
I can see why. I can see why with the spring and stuff.
Like for me, it was kind of hard because I actually debated a lot on this. Like I think to me it was Hansama Kalist choose 1 and 2, Super Upset choose 3 and 4, and then it was Noah Samdi. That was like my clear thought process.
Yeah,
the main reason I put Super in is that for 2 reasons. The one is that I think Upset has always kind of had a high floor, but it's been long time since we've seen him pick. Or maybe just like the way Fnatic has played in the past few years didn't really allow him to shine as much. While I think MCoy did a better job by doing that for Super. So it's not really about the player itself, it's just that what has transitioned into official games that made me put him higher. I even think like Upset could potentially be number 1 because I think I remember last year I put him somewhere close to top 2 just because I think that Upset is still when it comes to like having to play ADCs and hyper carries, I think he's probably alongside Kalist the 2 best.
Yeah.
Top 2 for me, and then it's Stupa. Why I think Hansama for me, the reason I put him first was just because he's overall a little bit more all-rounded player. We often, like we said before, Kalist sometimes has had some rough laning phase. That might change this year. So I definitely can see him compete for number 1. My shout out actually is to the bunch of Korean players, Korean ADCs, because I think like Noah has been kind of underrated to me. I'm not sure how you guys about think. No, I actually think that Noah is criminally underrated. And I think based on how he performed last year, I think I'm expecting him to... I expect more from him this year. Because I think what he struggled with the most was mental and just like the managing of nerves and stress under high stress situations. And it looks like on GX, he kind of fixed that. Like he doesn't have those moments where he just shuts off. If he keeps on doing that, I definitely see him contest for higher positions. I'm not sure about Samdi. I'm actually
Actually, we haven't seen anything from him because of the fact
Yeah.
that he was playing with Malrong support last year.
Yeah,
like
exactly. But it's like I'm basing myself on what I used to see from him when he was playing in Korea, back in the days. And
it was a long time ago. It's not the same
yeah,
player
it was
anymore. I can
yeah,
tell you.
it was quite a long time ago, but I still think it's kind of relevant. And I think the fact that he already played in the LEC for like not LEC, but just like EMEA for quite some time should technically be a good indication that he has what it takes.
Honestly, he was the best in the areas for at least 1 year.
Yeah.
know?
So and then
After Kalis left.
which is why then I
basically.
put Karji 7th, because I felt like I couldn't put him any higher or like any lower than that. I feel like
And I understand why, because Karzi was honestly it might have been his worst year ever
Probably
in
was.
career last year.
yeah, it's like he had a rough year, but at the same time it's still Karzi, you know, like this guy can show up and potentially show up with performance worthy of Kalist and Supa and those kind of players. But then if Vitality doesn't show up or like he struggles, sometimes he dips, then he then can just be like closer to the bottom. But then you also have Paddock and Crani. I still like I know Crani. I actually think Jopa and Crani can be interchangeable for me. I think the experience that Crani had in the LEC in the past will kind of matter at the start. Over time, I still think Jopa can be the better player, and actually also excited to see Jopa because I think he has been one of the most highly rated ADCs in ERLs for quite some time. Not even just like last year. I think at least I've heard his name for like over the past 2 years. And having him to play seeing him play with someone like Mickey X is probably the best opportunity you can get to show your like to prove your worth. Because you got a super good support. So
yeah, and he's also he's a player that loves to innovate in draft as well. So I think it fits for sure SK playstyle, right?
Yeah.
And also what I wanted to come back on is like that Upset and Calist being maybe the best in team fights. I would say they don't have exactly the same stress. I get your point, but I would say, like, for example, I think Calist will do much more with less resources in team fights, while I do think that Upset with less resources might do not much, you know. I feel like Upset, when it doesn't feel like the game state is in his favor, he will play on his back foot, you know. And for example, I think that's a big issue he has had in his career. And when you look at players like Gumayushi, for example, that look like the best at Worlds, he's a player who can, even when he's low resources, he will not play on his back foot. You know, he will play forward, and I think it's what separates the very good from the greats. You know, and again, you will say I'm biased, but I think Kalist has that. It's just a matter of how much he can show it. You don't agree with me?
No, I
Well,
actually
when
agree
was
with
it
you.
you were
I think
saying? Were you guys really expecting that so much from Kalist? Really, you thought he was that hyped up? That was you saying, like, questioning this a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. And I still think so, because I would not believe that everyone would hype that player that much, because again, he has been playing 1 year and one split in LFL. And honestly, his best split ever in career was not in 2024, it was in 2023, you know? So I wouldn't expect people after like 2024, which he was very good as well, right? But he wasn't like as impressive as in 2023. I wouldn't imagine people coming in 2025 rating Kalis that high. But I think the KC hype and stuff, the KC fans and
probably
hype and stuff.
your mate
helped him
Paul
a
at
lot.
LeCeep and his editor putting him on the front page of LeCeep probably had a part to play as well, to be fair.
Exactly.
I think for me it's like Khalees is the only player I'm legit hyped about. Like I think he's like generational talent, but just not because like the one thing I like about Khalees is not necessarily like his in-game skills. It's just that the way he shows himself as a player.
Yeah.
And I think mentality and like while skill is definitely in talent is super important. I think that what then allows you to continue and improve and become like having the strive and the ambition to become the best usually comes from the way you are as a person, or like the way you approach the game. And I think like Khalees has all of those qualities. And coming from the fact that he was a super young guy, like it's very rare. So I think for me, it's like Khalees can go continue and evolve for at least another couple of years.
Yeah, and I would
Which
say
is why I want him to be there, because I feel like we cannot waste these kind of players, because at least like these do not come around often.
and I would say
it's like Hap's level of talent to me.
yeah, and I would say there are a lot that actually we kind of let on their own, and they didn't evolve as they should have. I'm thinking of many players, maybe like Humanoid, maybe even Karzi, honestly. But what separates Callis from this possible narrative, I think, is, as you said, his mentality and his approach to the game, his mindset. I would say that I know, coming into this year, that even though his rookie year has passed, the whole hype thing about him has kind of dropped now. He won't do the minimum, He won't do the minimum. He will do his best for sure, this year. And if he doesn't do his best, he will put the blame on himself. He won't say, yeah, I don't think we played that well as a team. He will say, I played fucking bad and I regret it. And I know he will do everything in his power to avoid saying that at the end of the year. So yeah, I think that's something that could actually play a huge part in his growth. And yeah, I do think that, again, what separates the good from the great is always mindset, right? And in any sports, and I feel like this young man has it for sure.
Let's do support. So,
and just one thing, I think we haven't talked that much about Ansama. I just wanted to point out again, because I did it a lot in this show, I think, but I wanted to point out again that Ans' growth this year has been kind of insane to me, because I wouldn't expect him to still has it, to still have it, that drive to actually be exceed the level he already reached. Because honestly, as Davide said, I think in the previous years, Ansama was kind of, I wouldn't say the weak link, but the fact that he was so one-dimensional in his playstyle, the fact that he always played the lane and stuff, kind of put a lot of responsibilities on the other players in G2 to carry team fights and stuff. And I think this year he evolved a lot on mechanical champions, on team fight champions, such as Ezreal, Xayah and stuff. And it really showed, honestly, even at Worlds, even at MSI, at EWC, really showed that he could match the best ages in the world in teamfight, while before it was always his weak point, I would say. So hope he can continue, hope he doesn't stop there. And again, I think it's something, maybe French players have that, I don't know about it, but I don't know what you guys think, but it's my kind of my realization out of all we're talking about right now. But I would say that Hans, again, has that mindset, has that champion mindset that makes him push always for more, And yeah, it's crazy that the two players that have it are French in this ranking. But anyway,
good for them. Right, support. Number 12, Prime. 11th, Reckless. 10th, Fleshy. 9th, Lospa. 8th, Paris. 7th, Send. 6th, Trimby. 5th, Mickey X. 4th, Jun. 3rd, Alvaro. 2nd, Lebrov. And number 1, Lucio.
so I was right. We have 3 KC players in top 1.
Yeah.
No, 2 in it. It's Busio and Canna.
Oh yeah, you're right.
then
Actually,
Hansama
yeah.
counts.
Callis is not. Yeah. You're right.
Not far off. Wasn't far off. There is a bit of variance though, in fairness. So you guys had Busio number 1. I've put Lebrov number 1 just because with Busio, so I've got Busio 3rd. I just want to see him. I'm just not sure seeing him without Inspired. Like I'm worried. I just wonder how much of an influence Inspired was having on just everything FlyQuest really. So I'm happy to be wrong and see Busio just still be that level, and that's just how good he is. Yeah,
It's funny. It's funny you say that because I was talking with Zeph about that, about the influence between like the dynamic between Busio and Inspired, and Zeph told me that for him, Busio and Inspired were playing on two different screens, Like he said that there are a few dynamics you can have as a team in terms of like how you control the map, and there are a lot of teams like for example Team Heretics with Stand and Cheo, they were playing a lot together, right? They were like always together in on the map, and Busio and Inspired were playing in two different screens, and they were like playing for all the resources on the map, like 2-1-2 as you said, and I would say like I would kind of agree with that, So I wouldn't say that Busio was that dependent of Inspired, I would even say that for me the issue was they couldn't connect that much. And yeah, I think Busio is a very good support on his own. He's very creative. He's an insane playmaker to me. And I think honestly, that's what Yike might like a bit of playmaking. A bit of creative engage, creative angles to fight and stuff. I do think that Yike is very good mechanically. I do think that he has very strong teamfight science. But I do believe that when it comes to create plays, it's not his main strengths. And I'm happy to have Busio in this team to actually create those plays, And I think that they are very they can complement themselves very well in that regard.
I'll look
I
at any
think
other
for me,
surprises. Yeah, go on.
yeah, for me, actually, the thing that I wanted to talk about is my bottom side, because I think it's like
Yeah.
the top 3 and 4 is like kind of similar. Even fifth, we got
Damn, you've put fleshy 11s.
Yeah, that's like that's one of the things I wanted to talk about, because I feel like when I looked back at this, I was like, is it really fair to put Flashy 11th? But then I couldn't get my head around it, because the only way for me that would make sense would probably to swap Reckless and LoSpa with it. But I just think, like I give experience like a lot of it's like I give them a lot of weight, and I think Reckless to me is Reckless. I think that for me, the one thing that stood out to me for Reckless is the fact that I like ADC, like I like support, so I've played ADCs in the past.
I don't like support full swaps now. I don't like
I'm
them
not a
anymore.
fan. I'm not a fan of role swaps from
I've
other
seen
roles.
enough.
like the Niski role swap, to me, I'm not a fan.
And the Malrong, what did you think of the Malrong?
Even worse. I think the only, because I think support and jungle makes a little bit more sense, because you can technically have a similar game sense and game awareness that comes from you playing jungle. But I think that the fact that there's so many matchups and so many combinations in the bottom lane that you can only learn by playing both sides. So I think even like the Ghost, KT Ghost example, I don't think Ghost is necessarily bad. I actually think he benefits from playing as a support while having played as an AD. It's just that I don't rate Ghost as highly, because he used to be kind of the weak link or like the weak side on Damn One when they played at Worlds. I don't think that was necessarily the case for Reckless. And I think Reckless has technically even more, like he can have more things, like more improvement, even more improvement over time, the more experience he gains. Not that he hasn't had enough. It's just that I think him playing for like as an AD for like 10 years and then getting to play the other side of the laning phase will actually be helpful. The one thing
I would say about Reckless though, I do think he likes a bit of that like craziness in his play style to be a very good support. I feel like every very good supports are supports who can do crazy plays.
I think that's one of the things I wanted to touch upon. I think my biggest concern about Reckless, because I could see Reckless going higher. I don't see him going any higher at the given moment, because he lacks what you just said. which I think like other players like Trimby, Paris, Miki, Labrov, Jun have.
Yeah.
I think Flashy for me is a little bit unfair. I think it's a little bit of the fact that he has been playing in Tier 1. He used to play in the LCS as well previously. He hasn't had like top results, even though he technically has always been one of the most well rated newer supports. Like taking away the ones that are very like known and play for top teams. And he hasn't like lived up to the expectations. Could definitely see him go way above. I wanted to make a shout out to Trimby. I think this guy can potentially also be one of the surprises.
Yeah.
I think this guy was insane when he was in the LEC in the past. Like he was probably top 2, top 3 at the time. Could definitely see him go higher this season. As the season goes on.
Yeah. I would say about Fleshy though. I think we're a bit harsh on him, honestly, because when you look at it, Vitality have played like far better with him than with Elisa and Gorniski. Like they were a completely different team, honestly. So I think he had a very, very good first split in GLC, and actually I'm very hyped to see him evolve this year. So I would say like but honestly again I think support is kind of stacked, not in the way that we have insane supports, but in the way that they're all a bit close to each other and anyone could take the spot of the other. Like for example, especially like for example in the top 5, even 6, 7 maybe if you like. Yeah, I would say Trimby is up there, right? I would say that Paris, depending on how he evolves, because last year he was not looking like himself, honestly. So there are a lot of question marks and also a lot of players that could eventually go very higher than what we rank them. Whether it's like Paris, whether it's Fleshy, I could see them being in the top 4, honestly, as the year goes on.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I could definitely see that happening.
Ranking's done. And it took
We're done.
probably about a little bit less than I expected. Maybe it's just I am like really pressed for time, but there was one thing I wanted us to chat about quickly. At least, well, it's helpful that Davide you did a few things in one article, so go one and kind of talk through a few points quickly. Just on like the updates for the new season, where a few things were revealed. Firstly, was first selection, which was an interesting one.
Yeah.
So that's rather than
definitely.
just having side select now, whoever like in the case where a team would have had side select, they could still choose which side of the map they want to play on, or instead which champ they want to, or if they want to have first or second pick in champ select. And then once they choose that, then the other team gets to pick. So like if one team chooses, all right, we want to play on red side, then the other team gets to choose the first pick. That's right, isn't it? It's kind of like in football where you flip a coin to choose which end of the pitch you want to play at, and then you can like the other team maybe gets to choose like if they have kickoff. I think is usually how they do it in football. So a similar thing like that.
Yeah. I actually think I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the feelings were from the overall community. I actually think it's generally underrated change. Like, I'm not saying it's going to be groundbreaking, but I think it can definitely change a lot of dynamics. Because I think, especially with Fearless Draft, we saw certain metas where one side was definitely better, and then we saw certain metas where champions were better, or like you getting access. The biggest question mark we like not question mark, but like biggest point was always the fact that on red side you're forced to ban out stuff depending on what it's being banned on blue side. But then you we're also having the counter pick at the end of the draft with Red 5. Now it will change the way you play, and you can also see and draft team comms depending on which side of the map you're playing. Because there are some, I think there are some some champions or some team comms that play better on one side or the other based on the terrain.
Yeah, and also based on how what you want to prioritize as a
And
LC
what
rate
you want
or
to
yeah.
prioritize exactly. So I think it's actually going to be a major thing. I'm not obviously not as game changing as Fearless Draft. I think like
Yeah,
in
definitely.
certain situations where teams like strong teams plays a bad team or like a worse team, I don't think that changes much. But we have always had that discussion where like even T1 and Genji back in the past when they will play finals or like when we get BO5 finals and then they having to choose to do the coin toss to decide some first pick or like side selection ended up always then deciding the series. Like I remember, was it that RNG T1 MSI finals? Was it where RNG flipped it and got blue side 3 times and won? And then there was like the coach who kind of called out, oh, like if we had blue side 3 times, we would probably won and stuff like this, stuff like that. And so that also removes some of the bad stuff about the meta changing, because there are some metas, especially when newer patches, where like, oh, there's like some super broken champion, OP champion that you need to prioritize. Well, it doesn't, like, you don't get as much advantage right now with this first selection thing compared to how it was in the past.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, I think I was looking at like world stats, and I think it's the first year we ever had where blue and red are that balanced. It's like 50-50. The win rate from both sides is 50-50, while it used to be in the previous year like
Always
60
blue side.
50 60
Yeah.
60 40 for blue side, right?
Yeah, it's always
So
was blue side favored, I think.
so honestly, the fact that with Fearless actually it was the most balanced side win rate we ever had. In that sense, it feels kind of weird that the change appears now, right? But I think it was definitely needed before. So yeah, I don't really know what to think about it. I think it was not the best time to put that feature in, but at the same time, I think that feature was needed before. So yeah.
Yeah.
And also I don't know if you wanted to talk about it, Lee, but there's also the prize pool that have been
Yeah,
removed
that was the
from.
next bit in the same article.
Yeah.
Revamped financial
Yeah.
structure. So Riot have said that there won't be like regional split prize pools anymore. So if you win the LEC, there's no money for doing that. And they said that the funds would go into more impactful areas.
But
Which
it
is,
didn't name
yeah,
those
so into
areas, which is
unnamed
kind of the problem.
impactful areas, which God knows what that exactly means. And the one thing I would say, like, the prize pools were insignificant anyway, in fairness. So I think like the LEC winners used to get like 50,000 euros or something, which
80.
all right. Well, was
Yeah.
that not the whole prize pool? Was that for the winner?
Yeah. No, the whole price pool, yeah.
Yeah,
It was
so
like, I think 40, 25, 15 or something like that.
right, yeah. So like 40,000 euros to win the LEC, but for the cost of like running costs of the teams and salaries and things is probably surely it's nice, but it's not it's not like groundbreaking money. So it depends. If there is a more impactful area that actually is useful, then maybe it is better. But again, we don't really know what that means exactly. And it's funny because
the issue is always the same. The issue is always the same with Riot. It's the lack of transparency, honestly.
yeah,
Like just explain what is it. Like at least give more insights. You can just say more relevant areas. Like it's not possible.
but that means we're not even. The way I interpret that is we've not even decided yet, or we've not figured it out. But we think we think prize pools are kind of pointless now. Let's scrap them and think later what we're going to do with it. But it's funny because looking at it, comparing it to VCT, in Valorant, the regions. Oh, I think I've lost you guys. I'll keep going until perhaps they come back. But in Valorant, the regions also do not have prize pools for the most part of the year until basically the final section of the season. There's no prize pools, and then the teams there just got a revenue share for the whole year of $105 million. So clearly things are possible without prize pools, but I probably would need a bit more of an overhaul to be fair. It seems likely that my internet has died. So I think we're back. Are we
I
back?
think I might have some.
Drop
Is
them.
Asli?
I'm
Yeah, I
dropping. I'm
dropped.
having them tomorrow morning, so I'm preparing the script today.
Okay.
Hello? Can you hear
Let's
me?
not leak it.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good job. You
What
almost leaked
happened?
something, but apparently not. I think my internet dropped. I carried on talking, but to fill you guys in, I was just explaining how in the VCT they basically have no prize pool. Only for like the final split they have prize pool. But for there they don't have much at all. But then so it's possible to not have prize pool and have a decent system because last year they had a revenue share of more than $100 million between the teams across VCT. So it's possible that things can be done without prize pools, but also the whole system is different and the league system seems to not be as good.
And also the like there has been kind of a fandom around prize pool in like Dota or CS, where it's like more important, like the revenue players are gaining is kind of an indicator of how good is the player, while in League of Legends it's not relevant at all, right? It's like especially because the ecosystem is changing every year. Like from one year to another, you can have a prize pool for wars that is going from 1 million to 5. So anything can happen. You can also have 4 splits suddenly while you only had 2 the year before. So honestly, anything can happen in that ecosystem, which means that how much you earned can be more of a luck factor than a performance indicator, So yeah, I just think it's irrelevant anyway in that regard. The only thing I would have wished, honestly, is just to know where this money is going in.
Same.
Because I do believe you can do, as you said, Lee, better things with that money. Really, like there's a lot of better options you can have maybe to develop the ecosystem long term and stuff. But just let us know.
Well, I'd say with the Valorant one, out of the 100 million, it was like 86 million of that was through digital goods. That's where the revenue came from. Which clearly is the thing.
The issue is we only have icons in LoL. That's the problem.
The only other part of that kind of round of more broad update was Hall of Legends returning later in the year, again for one person to be inducted. And we'd probably sound like a broken record with the issues of Hall of Legends, that one a year is like clearly not enough. But there you go. It's going to continue that way.
What's your name on? What's your name on?
Oh,
okay. I think it's not possible to put a T1 player from the last 3 years, right?
For me, there's only one. If we have to go by regions, I like it. Not even by regions, but just like imports. I think it's just going to be Caps. That's my guess. Wild guess.
Even though he never won Worlds, I mean, Yuzi never won Worlds, right? But I don't know if they put in the
I think
first players they put only one that won Worlds. It's kind of.
I think for me the relevance of how much impact a given guy has given to the region, I think in the West, or at least EMEA, Caps has to be number one to me.
Yeah, sure.
I don't think there's anyone else that you could fit. If we go by that logic, I'm trying to think someone in the LCS, but the only names that come up to me are like Bjergsen and Doublelift and potentially Jensen, but then probably among those three, the only ones that could be Hall of Legends worthy are Bjergsen and Doublelift. I actually, like I told you last time, I think Bjergsen is higher than Doublelift to me.
I think in NA, Doublelift is higher.
Yeah. I think for me, Bjergsen is just because it's more of a personal thing of how he is as a character and how he is as a player. Like, I think he evolved throughout, both as a pro, but also as a person. But I think just like probably Caps will be the one for
But
me.
wait, guys, was it confirmed? It will be a Western player.
No.
Okay.
I'm just going
Yeah.
by my guesses.
Okay.
I think if I had to go with an Eastern guy, it probably would be someone from Korea. But that's
I
I
think
feel
it will be
like
Bengi. I think it will be Bengi for
I
me.
think there's so many names that could fit the bill, you know.
Yeah, I think it will be Bengi for me. And again, I think like was it Riot that said that they won't have like 100% a Western player in the third place? Like I think because a lot
Yeah, I thought I remember
of
something
people
like that.
were like, yeah, I saw something like that. But and I think it won't honestly because I do feel like given how League is and how prestigious Worlds are, I believe that putting two players that didn't won Worlds in your top three, in your first three inductees is kind of weird, honestly.
Mm.
So Uzi was completely fair, right? I think Caps is honestly very legit as well. But the issue I have with Caps is that as Uzi never won Worlds, and to me it's not it doesn't fit the prestige of the Hall of Legends. So to me it will be Bengi, but the only issue I would have with Bengi would be that it's a T1 player again, and there's too much T1 everywhere right now with Worlds every year, with Faker being the first inductee. I think they're all over the place, and I'm not sure it would be a good advertising for LoLEsports to promote Bengi, for example, right now.
That's the
So
thing.
I think I would put the Shy probably if I was LoLEsports. Also because of the fact that he's Korean and playing in China, so he's kind of filling all the parts. He has been very he has had that what do you call it, like that influence on the game that the two previous players had as well, and he won Worlds. So to me, if it just fills all the criteria,
It does feel like it is frustrating where it is being so limited to one a year, and you know that part of that is so they clearly can do like such a big go around it and like have all these items and just like and rinse it basically and probably make a lot of money. It is a shame that when we talk about who's kind of coming next or who we think it is, it's not even just like based on. I mean, it's hardly based on who we think deserves to be in it, and it's more just like trying to guess how they're thinking and like what the meta game would be of how they're going to decide it.
Yeah.
It would be nice if they could just do it like normally and have more than one a year and fill it properly with the players.
And
that
it would be
deserve
nice if we had like public criteria, with like we want to promote a player from Asia, but also some players from the West or something, just some more indications on how they will handle the future,
Because there's just so many
Now, right now
players,
we have
like especially
nothing.
from
It's
back in the
only our
day,
gut
that have
feelings.
there's so many of the older players that have like basically no relevance like today. That means that no one would probably, well, not many people would buy this skin and that, but they still deserve to be in there because they had an impact on like day one.
Yeah.
And they're just
I
never
think
really going to
Bengi
get around to it, are
will
they?
for sure be there some like in a few.
Yep.
To me, Bengi will deserve to be there before Bjergsen or Double Lift, honestly.
Yeah. There we go. Let's wrap it up then, because I am well overdue for what I needed to do next. Partly thanks to Ethan, but anyway. We also went for a
What
while.
did you say?
It's partly thanks to you that I'm late for my next thing.
My pleasure, man. My pleasure.
Yeah, next time I'll
Don't
just
hesitate to because people don't know, the fans don't know, but we're actually recording this every day at 8:30 in the morning. And I think we already talked about it, but this time Lee had the good decision to put it at 8
no.
in
We
the
always
morning
do
and not
8, and
8:30.
it's always 8. 8's the normal time.
No, the few recent one we did were at 8:30. I'm pretty sure, honestly.
Last week we were a bit later.
Yeah.
Let's not argue this on the show in front of the viewers. If Ethan's not here next week, you know why.
Yeah.
Actually, you don't. It's either he slept in or we've kicked him off. It'll be one of the two. We like having you here. That's why we waited.
And I love being here, and I love being with you guys as well.
But yeah, and thank you for your time, guys. Thank you for the viewers as well. Let us know what you disagree with fiercely in the comments, please. And we'll catch you next week.
See you guys. Bye bye.
You guys.
Yeah.